Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my over-the-board chess tournament here in December of 2025. It is round number 5, and actually in this recap, I'm going to give you round 5 and 6. That is because in 2 days is Christmas, and on Christmas, I would like to deliver you a Guess the Elo. I feel like you're deserving. So we're going to look at 2 games in this recap, and then we will look at the last game on Christmas Eve, the 24th. Up to this point, I have 3 out of 4 points. So far undefeated, 2 wins and 2 draws. And in this round, I'm playing a 2200 rated either high school senior or college freshman who plays e4. I believe that's the entire introduction of this video. Shout out to all of you who are participating in the Chessly Holiday Challenge. You have reached the last level, and we will be doing an exclusive Guess the Elo also just on Chessly. And people will win a signed hoodie. So if you haven't participated in the holiday event on Chessly yet, you're missing out. We've had a lot of fun stuff on there. And yeah, you're awesome. Thank you for participating. It's a tremendous amount of fun. So my opponent is an e4 player. This game was crazy. This was me entering my final form almost as a player. My opponent opened with e4. And I thought for 12 minutes on the first move and played the move c5, the Sicilian defense, for the second time in this tournament. Now, again, I did not spend this time on the first move. I was late getting to a tournament in New York City. Not an easy task. And for the second time, I played the Sicilian defense. If you've been following closely, you know that a couple of rounds ago, I went for the e6 Sicilian. And I played the 4 knights. This time we are playing something that I played last year, about a year ago, in an over-the-board tournament. d4, pawn takes, knight takes, the open Sicilian. Now knight f6 would be the Sveshnikov with e5. Knight f6 and d6 would be the classical Sicilian. So there are many ways to play here. You know, e6, queen c7 is the Taimanov. I went for e5, the Kalashnikov, which is one of the coolest names for an opening. The Kalashnikov is not yet available on Chessly. I haven't made a course about it yet. My opponent went knight b5. It was pretty clear he was surprised and definitely did not review his variations, because in this position, he spent 17 minutes, which is crazy because white does not even have to think here. There are really only 2 lines. White can either try to play for c4 or put the knight out first. In this position, black's main idea is to kick out this knight to a3. When this knight appears on the c3 square, you want to kind of send the knight off that way, and then it has to kind of reposition. Obviously, black has a weak pawn, but it's really difficult to attack for white, like, especially once the knight gets removed. Black will then, you know, develop a bunch of pieces. There's lines where black can play g6, lines where black can play f5. I was just ready for a battle. He proceeded to spend 17 minutes, which is a really good sign for me that he's obviously not remembering, not particularly comfortable. And I very quickly, against the move c4, there's multiple ways to play here. I played the move g6. This is just a flexible move. You do want to play knight f6. You do want to play bishop g7. Sometimes you even go bishop h6. There are some positions. Now he started playing a little faster. He thought for 4 minutes and played this move. I kicked out his knight. This is all normal. And now black can set up 1, 2, and 3 moves in really any particular order, but I did spend a couple minutes just being like, I don't think it really matters, but I played knight f6. He brought this knight back to c2. It's normal, right? Bring it back to the middle. I played bishop g7. He went bishop e2. I played bishop e6 first, although it doesn't particularly matter, and we reached this position. This position has been reached. If you look in the database, it has been reached a decent amount of times, especially in 2025. And now, you know, after white plays a move like bishop e3, I think this particular position has been reached considerably, like maybe 20 or 30 games in the database. This is like the most harmonious setup for white, and from here, play can develop in a lot of different ways. You know, black will generally put the rook on c8, and now white makes some decision. If white plays a solid move like f3, there's positions white plays knight h5, and after queen d2, white still can play knight f4, actually. There are positions where, you know, black pushes for b5. There's a lot of stuff. In the game, my opponent castled, and really, really quickly played queen d3. He played this move and he looked pretty confident, and I was like, what? Queen d3, I can explain it. The idea of queen d3 is simply to go rook d1 and attack the pawn on d6. But queen d3 is a total misunderstanding of the plans of the position. I was understanding the plans quite a bit better. I'm a little annoyed I spent so much time here because I guess, you know, sometimes you kind of have to trust yourself. My original intention here, this is where the Sicilian calculations begin. My original intention here was just put my knight on d4. And I had a very simple calculation. Knight d4, knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, knight d5 with a discovered attack on the queen. He can't take my knight with pawn, pawn, knight, or queen because the queen's hanging. And then my knight on d5 attacks his knight on c3 with this bishop. And so if the queen were to move, I would make the trade, b takes, and then I would play something like rook c8, and I would have a lot of pressure. So the idea was basically knight d4, takes, 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 knight d5, queen d2, takes, takes. Then I realized that the best move for white after knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, knight d5 is actually the really strange queen d1. And the point of this move is that the bishop stays open. So the rook never went there, so the queen can go back. And after knight takes, pawn takes, I'm down a pawn, but I will win these pawns back. But I just thought, like, I don't get enough here. I mean, I just thought, like, he's going to go rook b1. I'm not getting enough. So I thought, okay, instead of rushing with my idea knight d4, why don't I just settle for rook c8? Then I had to calculate that after rook c8 and him playing the move rook d1, knight d4 still doesn't exactly work as I want it to. Because after knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, knight d5, even though he doesn't have the retreating move there, because I move my rook to c8, he can go queen a7. That was actually really annoying. So knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, knight d5, he has queen a7 now. And because I moved my rook, like, I saw all of this, and it's actually really reassuring that so did the computer. And knight takes, pawn takes, black has to find the only move here for the advantage. Not an easy move. Queen h4. Giving up the second pawn, another pawn, and another pawn. But my queen is really well placed. I'm attacking this, and just like in general, black is winning pawns at a faster pace somehow, but it's still equal-ish. So I had all this play planned, you know, and I did go knight d4, but maybe I could have been a little bit more emphatic. I had another idea here, which was just giving up the pawn with the move b5. b5 is an idea all the time in these Kalashnikov positions, and it looks ridiculous because it's like, wait, what? Don't you just lose a pawn? Yes. But then after that, you can play d5. You can play this move d5. And d5 is an emphatic central strike where somehow black is down a pawn, but like the position is very active. A lot of different attacking ideas and so on. This might be uninteresting to a lot of you because this is just too high level to understand. Or maybe it's interesting for you. I don't know. You can let me know in the comments to get kind of an insight into my mind. But it was nice that I was calculating all this stuff and it was all accurate. But then after I went knight d4, I was completely expecting knight d4 takes, takes, queen a7. And then my opponent went b3. And b3 is just a bad move. It's too slow. It also completely destabilizes this diagonal. When I saw b3, I knew it was time to pounce. And I spent way more time here than I should have. I was calculating the difference between 3 different moves. I was looking at playing b5 immediately. I was looking at playing d5, which is a crazy move. d5 actually works. He has to take with a knight or else he loses. If he takes with a pawn, I sack the rook and it's over. If he takes like this, I play bishop f5 and it's over. So he has to play knight d5. And I was trying to work out if I have anything in this position. I do. I can sack. I can take on e4 because if I take on d5, he doesn't take back. He takes this knight. And for a moment, everything is hanging in the center of the board, but there's no way for me to break through. If I go knight b4, it looks like I win, but he takes my bishop attacking my queen while his queen is hanging. So I was trying to work all of this out. I really just couldn't believe his position was holding together, but it is. There's just no way for me to do anything here. Nothing. I mean, it's like he's just in time defensively for every situation. He can even win, you know, if I'm not careful, because queen d3, knight e7, and all of a sudden he's just up a piece because I never took a piece back. So you got to be like super, super careful here. I'm looking at d5, b5. I end up going for b5. In this position, I had my last kind of big think, because I was also trying to work this out on the previous move. I really, really wanted, after b5, knight d4, I really wanted to take this pawn. to throw in this move. And my logic was, if he takes and I take, well, then I'm just chilling, because on the next move, I'm going to win his knight, and then I'm going to open up his bishop, and he's going to get walloped. If I took on c4 and he moved his queen away, well, then I would take on d4, rook d4, and I just thought this was a winning position because, I mean, like, it just feels like his whole position's collapsing on this side of the board. Maybe even queen b6, something like this, rook d6, queen b3. This just looked crushing. Like, I'm getting in this, I'm getting in this. I have knight h5 ideas, knight takes e4 ideas. Everything looked really, really good after b takes c4. But after b takes c4, he can still take my bishop. And when I take his queen and he takes my queen and I take his bishop and he takes my pawn and I go like this, it's equal. This is an equal endgame. I have nothing here. If he plays f3, then I play d5 with a small advantage and ideas of rook c2. But if he doesn't play f3, if he just pins my knight, I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. I can go rook c2, he's gonna go king f1. I don't get anything in time here. My pieces are too slow. My bishop and my knight are too slow. So I spent all this time calculating. I mean, it's a really fascinating battle. And I opted for this. And then he went knight d5. And I had my last moment to kind of like get through the crossroads. Now, as I said earlier, one of my ideas here was to also play knight d7. This move always makes sense and in these structures. And it also makes a ton of sense now because the queen's on d3. You always want to defend the knight with the bishop and the pawn, and you want to, but now this makes even more sense. So I was always looking at the idea to play knight d7. And when he went here, I was thinking, well, this knight's annoying, so I should probably take it. It didn't even occur to me not to take it. Like to go knight d7, I just thought, okay, I'm gonna chop down the brush in the forest. I spent like 1 minute on this move. And then I was gonna put my knight in d7. And as you can see from the computer, like clearly I have emerged from the opening with a better position, better understanding of the position and like long-term prospects. I also, after knight d5, could have done something else, which only like mildly occurred to me during the game. I could have actually traded the knight, which felt very counterintuitive because I wanted to go knight d7, but at least I preserved my bishops. And then when he goes pawn takes, before I move my bishop, I can put my rook on c3, queen d2, go here, and then here, I was thinking, I had this thought, I was like, can I do this and sack my rook? I mean, I'm known for it, right? Like, what if I just went queen b6 and said, take my rook, dude? Yeah, apparently I can just play like this. Computer loves it. It thinks that if, we get this type of endgame and I play like b4, okay, b4 is apparently wrong, right? It's already equal. But like if I play a5, apparently these pawns are so strong, white really struggles here. I do have to start trusting myself a little bit more, but like it just feels so weird to just give up a rook for a bishop with like no clear payout. You just kind of have a strong pawn. But yeah, I mean, knight takes d5, honestly, I really could have gone for. I definitely got a bit of tunnel vision going for this maneuver, which is still fine. But then here's something really, really stupid happened. Like typical of my games. If you're still watching, buckle up, because we're gonna really, go deep into the mind of Gotham here. He went, bishop b2, attacking my pawn, and here I had the following logic. He's trying to take my pawn, obviously. And after bishop takes, queen takes, his bishop would have no guard. So I was like, okay, my original idea here is to take the pawn. Makes a lot of sense. Just take the pawn. He takes. I then develop my knight to c5. Very nice move, attacking the queen. And he's going to try to, take my pawn here. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to dance into the position, like to e4, maybe to c3. That's c3 square, very important. At the same time, I'm going to put pressure on these pawns, right? Because the rook is always here. So with my knight on c5, rook here, going to get my queen out somewhere. Like, my autopilot response here was going to be b takes, knight c5. The queen would move somewhere, like, let's say c2. Then I would play something like a rook e8. And if he did go for this, I thought that in this position, even though I'm down a pawn, my knight is so dominant, his bishop is kind of ugly, I'm actually better. Like, even though I'm a pawn down in this position, I'm actually better. I have an advantage. Like, this is kind of what, then I try to play a5, a4, a3, rook b2, h5, like, just try to make some progress. I was looking at this position, right? But then I was like, well, I don't think there's a difference between taking the pawn now and playing rook e8. Like, rook e8, to me, he probably has to put his bishop on f1. And so I went rook e8. Rook e8, actually, according to the computer, totally reasonable move. I thought he has nothing better here than putting the bishop on f1, where, the position doesn't change that much. And he's never going to be able to take on b5. Taking on b5 doesn't make sense because it just opens up my rook, and I still have the knight idea. So I played this. I thought, okay, he's going to play bishop f1. And then he went queen d2. I missed this move. I didn't like, I don't know. Because I sort of thought what we were doing here is we were battling for d4, but with this move, he opens the bishop to target my pawn instead of targeting it with the queen, which was much worse because of various tactics and so on. And I freaked out because I thought I made a mistake. Like, I know it's easy, nothing changed, it's minus 0.3. I freaked out because I thought he's just going to take this pawn and then take with the bishop, and yeah, if this happens, white is just up plus 1.4. He liberated his whole position. He won a pawn, his bishop's active, he's going to win a second pawn, he has 2 passed pawns, he's just winning. So when he went queen d2, I thought I actually made a huge mistake, because now he's just going to take my pawn. And if I take, he's going to take with the bishop, which is a totally different improvement than the damaged pawn structure he would have gotten. I was really annoyed. I was really annoyed. And I was like, oh my God, I might lose. Like, this is crazy. I can't believe I just allowed this. And I'm like, he's going to take my pawn. I gotta figure out what's happening. For whatever reason, it never occurred to me to just play knight c5 anyway, even though the queen moved. Because the point of this is that when he takes my pawn, I play knight e4 with tempo. And then in this position, you know, I can put my knight on c3. Now, I still thought, you know, okay, knight c3, maybe not so powerful, whatever. But I don't know. I just, like, I saw ghosts. I just thought I made a huge mistake. I totally didn't see the move queen d2. I didn't see the idea. I only saw bishop f1. And I freaked out. And I went knight b6. Knight b6 that is a blunder. The idea of knight b6 is that when he takes my pawn, I'm still going to get my knight to c3. But I'm going to eat a pawn along the way, but that's not what I should be doing. I shouldn't be eating the pawn. I should be going to c3 via a different route, not via this route. Because what happens in this route is after he takes my second pawn and I go here, you know, my logic was his rook is hanging and his bishop is hanging, so it must be good. And then here he played bishop f1. He did the thing, but to me. He sacrificed the rook, but against me. When he played bishop f1, my heart sank into my stomach. Because now my whole plan backfired. I am down a pawn. I can't even take his rook. Because if I take his rook, I lose my only active piece. And he has 3 passed pawns supported from long distance by bishop and queen. I'm just going to lose. I just cannot defend this position. I don't think it's possible. And so I sat there, and I was feeling very annoyed. You know, it's the same thoughts, the same negative thoughts. Like, oh my God, you had a great position from the opening. You overthought things. Should have trusted your instincts. You're such an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like, okay, look. I'm going to lock in. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lock in. I'm going to play fast. He has 10 minutes. I have 25 minutes. I did not play fast on this move, but after this move, once I got over the emotional trauma, and I just went queen b6. And I said, okay, you have 10 minutes. Beat me. You're winning. You're obviously winning, but you have to win this game. He moved his rook. I very quickly I moved out of the way. I declined a trade of rooks. I figured it wasn't the best move. I also figured the best move for him was to bring his rook all the way down here. He didn't do it, but, you know, he played very slowly. He played bishop c4. Bishop c4 is just, I don't think bishop c4 is necessary. I just think it's a bad move. But I had another option here. I could have sacked my rook for defensive purposes. But again, I wanted to keep material on the board because I figured once you sack material, you're all in. Like, you're going to lose or you'll survive barely. And I was like, you know what, d5, like, let's go. He's going to have to beat me. Rook d7, stable, 6 minutes for white. Let's go. Like, you have to, that's it. I have to play fast, you know? He still can't quite mobilize all his pawns. I still kind of have a weird defensive setup in the center of the board. Here we go. He went g3. I went h5. He repositioned his bishop, which, again, made a lot of sense to me. I quickly played rook d8, he went queen d3, and I played king h7. Of course, I'm kind of not doing anything. And yet, the moves h5 and king h7 are two of the most clutch moves that I played in this game, because you're going to see that these two moves save me in the end. Like, the most outlandish flank pawn advance and slight king advancement to just get the king off the back rank, make sure I never have any back rank maids, blah, blah, blah. Bro, oh my gosh. I mean, what happened was wild. Okay, so he went bishop c1. He's also repositioning his bishop. He put the bishop on f4. And I thought I trapped him here. I thought I set a little trap where I'm actually going to win the pawn back. You know, he's going to go queen b5. I'm going to take, and rook a7. And that's what happened. Queen b5, takes, rook a7. He only has 3 minutes now, and I'm just going to win the pawn back on a6. But as I went for this pawn, I did sit there thinking, isn't the endgame just lost? Because he has 2 outside pass pawns. He's just going to put his rooks behind the pawns, right? He went b4. He forced me to take. And when he got this, I thought, this must be over. This is a very easy win for white. He just pushes his pawns. It's not particularly complicated, and I can't even play a move like rook to b8. So I was like, okay, well, I don't have any time to sit and mope. Let's go d3. I activated my pawn. Now the dark squared bishop hits the rook in the corner. He played the best move. And now I gotta I gotta find something here. I got like 8 minutes, so I'm spending my time. I'm like looking, I'm like, where do I move? What do I move? Where do I put something? Let's bring the bishop back to f8. We pin the b pawn so it can't move, and he brings the bishop back to d2. I think this was a mistake. I think here he probably should have brought his rook back, but he went bishop d2, and I'm like, okay, now I have 4 minutes to find the only remaining defensive resources that I have, of which there are not many, because his plan is to go rook a1 or rook b1 and then reposition and literally just blast down the files, which I will not be able to stop. So I found a clutch move, rook c8. The idea of this move is to go target his bishop and also go target the pawn. I think he found the best move. He played, no, he didn't. He played rook a1. His idea was to reposition the rooks like this, I guess. Rook b1 would have been a bit better, but it's very, very tough to play that move. So he went here. And now I have, again, 4 minutes. I need to find the remaining defensive resource that I have. And I found it. And it's not easy to find at all. Defending this position with black could be in a book, in my opinion. You know, if I go rook c2, he just takes this. So I went rook c4. And the idea is quite straightforward. He's going to defend this pawn with rook b3. This was always his idea, and he is about to start marching. And when I played rook c4, I saw my follow-up. Now, the hero is the pawn and the king, because here comes bishop h6. You know, you spend all this time thinking like the bishop is going here and the bishop is going on this diagonal. It's the defender of my pawn that needs to be eliminated. Because if the bishop moves, my pawn gets close to queening, and I'm going to take these pawns, and his rooks can't come help either. Now, when I played bishop h6, he was shook. Like, he did not expect that move. He very quickly responded with f4. But I anticipated this, because now I come here. Now I'm attacking his rook, but his king is open, right? I'm attacking the king. He goes here, and now comes the most clutch move of all. Rook e6! I completely abandoned post of these 2 pawns, and I'm going to e2 and to c2. He has to take at some point. He can't escape. My rooks are getting to the 2nd rank, and out of nowhere, not only is his king weak, it's like almost mated, this bishop h6 move. So he takes rook e2. Now the king is completely cut off on the 2nd rank. He can never get out. At this point, my gears start shifting. I'm like, can I win? Like, this is no longer a draw. I'm playing for a win. He goes here. I have 3 moves to make. Rook c2. I'm threatening to take the bishop and give a check. Right? He's looking, a6. I have 2 moves before a new queen appears on the board. This is crazy. I'm thinking, I'm like, where do I go? So if I take the bishop now, takes, a7. I have to go bishop d4 check. And then it's probably a draw. I have to give away my bishop. So I play rook b2. I play this move 15 seconds. 45 seconds, he has 36 seconds. And I'm thinking like, I don't know how he's going to defend the position. I think the only move is rook a1. He goes here. King f1, so the bishop is again sacrificed, but with this move, he allows me to play rook takes h2. But actually, as I played rook takes h2, I thought I lost the game, because in my mind, I was thinking, I have mate threats, but I don't. Rook b1, bishop e1 is not a checkmate. I just like blanked that now, and so he went a7. He is 1 square away. That's it. I've completely abandoned the queen. Now in my mind, with a minute, I'm like, okay, this has to be a draw. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to play rook b1. He's going to go bishop e1. I'm going to win his bishop. He's going to make a queen, but I have perpetual check. So check here, rook h1. He's going to move his king. I'm going to take. It's a draw. Because anywhere he runs around here with the king, I give check, 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 check. Unbelievable. Insane position. What a finish to this game, right? Just like crazy. Rook e1, and then he went here. I just thought the position is a draw. I mean, he's going to make a queen. I have no choice, right? I have no choice. It's winning for black. The craziest thing is I gave him a check and we repeated the position and agreed to a draw. But 2 times, this is actually the wrong square for the king. The king had to go this way, which is just like, the idea is that the king actually accidentally walked into a mating net because now I play rook g1. Rook g1. And I'm threatening rook g2 What am I threatening? What am I threatening? What if he makes a queen? Rook b2 and rook g3. This is the mate that I missed. I have just a ladder mate in the middle of the game because my bishop and my pawn in this center, like, what on earth? In the back of my mind, I always thought, like, it's kind of weird his king can't escape. Maybe I have a mating net, but I didn't think of it like this. That's not the configuration. And your time is ticking, your heart is pumping. He's about to make a queen. Like, I don't know if I'm winning or losing. I'm about to allow a queen. And it's crazy. I actually repeated this position and I didn't spot rook g1 at all. I mean, it just like didn't even occur to me that this could be a mate. And like, if he plays like rook e3 to try to get out of it, it's still mate like this. And then if he plays rook f3, it's mate like this. He's just always made it. It's completely insane. Yeah, this one was pretty wild, man, to draw this game. I mean, I'm very happy I fought back after my total mental breakdown here, like after queen d2. I mean, I just thought I like botched everything. But in reality, if I had gone knight c5, I was actually just still pressuring, I don't know what happened here. This is like, I mean, you're always trying to get better. It's the first time in like 7 or 8 games that I played over the board that I've even had a bad position. And yeah, I was just lost. Bishop f1 was a very nice resource. Otherwise, if not bishop f1, I just thought I was doing well. But yeah, wild stuff, wild turn of events. I'm very proud of finding h5, king h7, and then, this move deep in the time trouble, bishop h6. Generally, I am not a good and resourceful defender with low time. I mean, and nobody is. You just sort of, even my opponent, I mean, he like lost the game by accident, So it happens. But yeah, hard fought and a draw. And I said I would also show you my round 6 game. This game, the recap will be about 4 minutes long because not much happened. I'm playing a person named Zachary Tannenbaum, who I've known for many years. I'm 5 years older than Zachary. My whole life I've been higher rated than Zachary. Now he's higher rated than me. That's how it goes, And Zachary's always later than everybody, so he was about 30 minutes late this game. I guess, they commute to the tournament from far away. And I played b3 on the first move because I saw that he plays e5 and he plays this 2 knights, which is very normal. And I went for this knight f3 move. I wanted to just like play something that didn't require a tremendous amount of studying. And just in case he didn't know it, it actually can be quite tricky, especially this line. Now, generally, black plays moves like d5 and stuff. White tries to go for c4, knight c3, slowly undermine the center. And to my huge annoyance, the second time this has happened, actually, it happened against Putnam. Liam played one of the more annoying lines that I don't have a huge amount of experience in, and I didn't get a great position. And bishop c5 is probably just the best move here. I played like Magnus. Magnus has played the move d3 in these positions. You just kind of leave the knight. You also can take on c6 and damage black's pawns. But then, I don't know, the position is just kind of equal. So I thought about this, and Zachary played the next move within like a minute, and I have never seen this move before. Never. He just gave me the bishop. I was like, what? You can do this? He just gave me the bishop, and then he walled out my bishop. So he just built this big center. But he played it so fast that I was like, is this real? Like, is this a thing? I've never seen anybody play like this. And so now I had this like moment here where I don't have a guide on what to do anymore. So my logic is like, well, okay, I mean, I can probably castle quickly, right? I can also maybe play something like, I don't know, I can try to play for knight c3, although knight c3, I'm always worried I'm losing a pawn. You're not somehow, like somehow you're always good here. You always have some tactic on knight e4. But I wasn't so sure, like knight c3 looked peculiar. Then I thought about playing knight d2 immediately. I thought about just taking and developing my bishop. I thought about taking and developing my knight. That was the right approach. So if I took and developed my knight immediately, this would have been the best approach. The point is that if black allows this pawn structure, white immediately gets a huge advantage. So if you do this and allow my pawn in the future to go to d5, not immediately, but in the future, you're just much worse. Because this bishop comes alive, and a worst case scenario for black is a position that looks like this. Black can basically resign here. I'm exaggerating, but this is terrible. This is allowing my bishop to thrive. This position, however, is not very good for my bishop. So I needed to go knight d2 first. And then if he castled, we would have gotten to this structure, but still he has this tactic. You know, he would still be able to keep my bishop shut. So no matter what I do, I went bishop d3, but apparently after bishop d3, it's already completely equal. There was just nothing here. Nothing at all. Zero. I ended up trading into this position, and this is just a draw. There is like nothing to, I mean, we have a totally symmetrical structure. I would even argue his knight could be a touch better than my bishop, because my bishop, only has one target. And if he goes c6 and a6, my bishop literally does nothing. It's more of a defensive piece. I don't have an offense, an offensive idea. So, we positioned and played a little bit, and, he kind of played, and I offered him a trade of queens. And what's funny is actually here, computer is saying black is microscopically better. I think he played a move, here was the biggest advantage that I had in the entire game. His knight went really passive. And then, here g5 is a little bit too aggressive of a move, because I could go g4, but after even f4 check, I just didn't see, I don't know, if I get bishop e5, bishop g7, I can understand, but I'm never going to get bishop e5, bishop g7. He will have knight d6 and knight f7. So he will just create a fortress no matter what. I'm never going to be able to break in. And so after some 30 moves, we agreed to a draw. In this game, nothing happened. Literally, it's just two guys who sat at a table for 3 hours and completely nothing happened. He came with an opening idea I have never seen before. If you actually look at the database, I don't think this has ever even been played. Yeah, this has been played 5 times. So I guess he saw it somewhere and he must have liked it, because I've never seen this idea. Just give the bishop and just keep the structure where you just block out my dark square bishop. Very interesting. And if this works, then damn, this line's dead. I don't know. It's really, really tough to play this position. I guess I have to go for knight c3. I guess this is what I had to play for. But he was prepared here as well. He clearly knew what he was doing. He had, knight c3 is just such an ugly move, but yeah. So 2 draws, one significantly more exciting than the other. And that brings us to the last round matchup. I have 4 out of 6 points. If I win the last round, I'll finish pretty well. 5 out of 7, undefeated. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the video, in that video. Get out of here.